What I am going to attempt to do here is the hardest thing in the world for me to do. This is how I know it is my life purpose, my predetermined future, what I am supposed to do. Whatever is most impossible in your life is what you are on earth to try to accomplish. And trying to accomplish, there's the key. Nobody gets it right the first time. This is why we have reincarnation. This is why we have another chance after this life. The Buddha led over 300 different lives. Through reincarnation, this is how it happens. Now, why do we have a predetermined future? Why is it there? It is because in the beginning, the mind of God moved from the dream state to the awakened state. And God set in motion all that God had dreamed. This is the entire future of every being that has ever been on earth. Everything that comes into this universe begins as thought. The first thought was of others, and that created the angels. The angels who are the many faces of God and who deliver God's messages to particular humans. And this is the reason for all hatred and prejudice on earth. When an angel comes to a human, they come in the face and the voice that particular human will trust most. For Mohammed, it was Moses. For most people, it is ourselves. The fact that angels come to a particular human in that human's face is the cause of all prejudice on earth. All humans have always thought that God looked very much like them and sounded very much like them. This is why they believe that only their particular race, only their particular gender is actually blessed by God and meant to be with God after this life. So this is what causes most of the suffering that is on earth. It's said that life is suffering. Well, what life is suffering the consequences of your words and your actions. This is the book of life, the Akashic records, the record of your life that you will be shown when you pass from this material world. You'll be shown not only everything, every interaction that you ever had with another human, you'll be shown the results of your words and your actions. The fact that this exists lets us know that there is a predetermined future for each and every human. And you have to understand that God comes to each human in a particular way, in a distinctly particular way. No two humans understand God in the very same way. The vision that I was shown is two souls walking through an endless wasteland, through a desert, everything the same color as the sand. And one day they happen to have just exactly the right line of vision, and the sunlight is coming at the proper angle that they see there's an enclosure off to the side with 20-foot high walls on it that are all the exact same color as the sand around them. And until you see it from that perfect point of view, you don't understand that it's even there. It's within reality, but out of sight. Now, the two souls go to the wall and they find stair steps on the side. The first goes up, and what he sees inside the enclosure is whatever represents heaven in that particular soul's mind. That soul saw their heaven, jumped over the wall, and was never heard from again. Now the second soul climbed up, saw what they considered to be heaven beyond the wall, and they climbed back down and spent the rest of their life looking for other travelers in the wilderness to point them in the right direction. This is what comes with being a seer. A seer in seclusion is useless. You have to let other people know what you're seeing. And this, for me, cooperating with other people, has always been the impossibility in my life. I've never, ever been able to accept a compliment from anyone because I would deflect it. I never was able to accept the help of other people. So now I am trying to let others know what it is that God expects of us, how we can ever get to heaven. And when you look at the three great prophets, when you look at the Buddha, the soul known to us as Jesus Christ, and Muhammad, all three were allowed to go before God and ask a question. And the reason was that they were not asking for themselves. They were asking for everyone else. When the prophets got to speak to God, they all asked the same question. How can the people of this modern world that we live in, who have strayed so far from the pure faith, how can these people ever be saved, redeemed, forgiven? How can they ever hope to be with God? And the fact that the three prophets were given three different answers lets us know that God comes to every soul in a different way, with a different answer, the answer that is meaningful to them in this particular lifetime. Now, what were the prophets told? The prophets, Buddha was told that enlightenment is what you want. You want to be able to listen to your own higher self above any other spiritual or human voices that are trying to influence you. Jesus was told that forgiveness was the key. And Mohammed was told that we were to pray 100 times a day. We were to be in communication with God constantly, to never break that tie. Now, how is this possible? It's possible because God is everything that we cannot see. Everything that a human cannot see, the dark matter that supports the planets and the stars, this is all God. This is how God can be with each and every one of the 7 billion souls on earth at the same time. And when we understand that anything we hear from the angels or the spirit world, it originates with God, and it is to move us along our particular karmic path. And that karmic path is whatever seems most impossible to us. The Dalai Lama, the 14th reincarnation of the Dalai Lama, went to the monastery at the age of 3. He was confirmed as his country's spiritual leader at the age of 5. And imagine having a lifetime up to that point that everyone tells you you're perfect. Everyone listens to your opinion. Everyone wants to have your opinion. You would have such a wonderful opinion of yourself that you would turn out to be the man that the Dalai Lama is today. Now, in his early 20s, revolution comes and forces him out of his country. The revolutionists want to separate church and state, and they know that the Dalai Lama is too powerful among the people. They have to disappear him. They have to send him out of his country. And the whole idea behind this was to stop his influence. And if they had just allowed him to stay in Tibet, his influence would have stayed there. How could they have foreseen 50 years later the electronic world would put the Dalai Lama in any point on earth where there's another human to see him? And the thing, the biggest teaching I've ever gotten from the writings of the Dalai Lama is that 50 years after he had to leave his home country for revolution, he still knew that his meditations were not perfect because he still saw the faces of those who had exiled him. And what this wonderful teaching says is that none of us have to be perfect in this lifetime. The fact that you are trying, the fact that you're stepping in the right direction, and that movement is what God wants of you. That change. This is why many of the omens and the signs that come to us from the unseen spirit world come to us as reasons to change, reasons to correct our path and go in another direction. For me, it is to accept the love of other people and to accept, to be able to cooperate with others and not get mad about it later because I feel like I'm doing all the work and then withdraw my emotions rather than actually leaving the scene. This has been repeated so many times in my life. This is the reason that I know this is my impossibility. This is my karmic path to express myself to you at this time. And I thank you so much for taking the time to listen.